Hi, I'm Paul Psolka, IB Masters Learning Center and IBMasters.com. And today we're going to look at Test 7, Section 1, Number 5, which reads, according to the narrator, one consequence of Silas adopting Epi is that he what? So, let's consider answer choice A. He has renounced all desire for money. And we go up, and we see that in the blurb, actually, passage adapted from George Eliot, Silas Marner, originally published in 1861. Silas was a weaver and notorious miser, but then the gold he had hoarded was stolen. Shortly after, Silas adopted a young child, Epi, the daughter of an impoverished woman who had died suddenly. And it describes the gold. It needs nothing, but the gold was stolen. It's not like he's like, hey, I don't want any more gold. And then when you look at the answer choices, it tells you all about like the bad stuff that came with gold. The gold had kept his thoughts in an ever-repeated cycle, leading to nothing beyond itself, blah, 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 blah. We don't see anywhere that he's renounced all desire for gold now, or for money, or anything like that. It does seem like Epi's brought a lot of love and goodness to his life, but again, we don't see any support for answer choice A. Answer choice B, better understands his place in nature. Well, there is a paragraph that's all about nature, and it starts in line 30. And when the sunshine grew strong and lasting so that the buttercups were thick in the meadows, Silas might be seen in the sunny midday or in the late afternoon when the shadows are lengthening under the hedgerows, strolling out with uncovered head to carry Epi beyond the stone pits to where the flowers grew, till they reached some favorite bank where he could sit down while Epi toddled to pluck the flowers and made remarks to the winged things that murmured happily above the bright petals, calling Dada's attention continually by bringing him flowers. Then she would turn her ear to some sudden bird note, and Silas learned to please her by making sounds of hushed stillness, that they might listen for the note to come again, so that when it came, she might set up her small back and laugh with gurgling triumph. Sitting on the banks in this way, Silas began to look for the once familiar herbs again, and as the leaves with their unchanging outline and markings lay on his palm, there was a sense of crowding remembrances from which he turned away timidly, taking refuge in Epi's little world that lay lightly on his enfeebled spirit. So, and then even in the next paragraph, as child's mind was growing into knowledge, his mind was growing into memory. So he remembers maybe scenes from childhood like that. Better understands his place in nature. Although that paragraph does focus on nature, we would not go so far to say that he better understands his place in nature. It just sounds like it's describing a scene, a typical interaction between him and Epi to drive the point home that he's more in touch with life than he was before. Answer choice C seems more accepting of help from others. Let's investigate. We see that, whoops, one more paragraph up. We see that it does mention in this sentence, it's actually a gigantic sentence, maybe I won't read the whole thing. Epi would have learned to understand how her father Silas cared for her and made him look for images of that time in ties and charities that bound together the family of his neighbors. So maybe his neighbors are mentioned there, but it's not like his neighbors are helping him and he's accepting help from his neighbors. Really, the whole passage is just an interaction between him and Epi. So our correct answer must be D, looks forward to a different kind of future. Now, by the way, I did not say this in the beginning, but notice there's no line reference here. If you remember the answer just from the passage, you might answer it. Or if you remember the lines, you might go there and answer them. But if you don't remember the lines and you don't remember the answer to the question, always look at the next question. Now notice, number 6, there are line references that point back to number 5. So instead of going back and reading the whole passage over again, make sure, sometimes it's on the next page like it is here, make sure you look there, because then you're looking in 4 places instead of going back and reading the whole passage over again. So let's consider lines 9 to 11 to see, once again, the consequence, what the result is of Silas adopting Epi. Consequence is not a bad thing in this context. It's just neutral. What the result is of Silas adopting Epi. And let's see, 9 to 11. Actually, we already highlighted it. The gold had kept his thoughts and never repeated cycle, leading to nothing beyond itself. It's not even talking about Epi, it's talking about the gold. So answer choice A is not correct for number 6. Let's look at answer choice B, 11 to 16. And in 11 to 16, Epi was an object compacted of changes and hopes that forced his thoughts onward and carried them far away from their old eager pacing towards the same blank limit, carried them away to the new things that would come in the coming years. And it really drives it home, new things that would come in the coming years. It looks like he's looking towards his future, looks forward to a different type of future. Yeah, before Epi, he would just be looking at the gold. And then it goes on to say when Epi would learn to understand how her father Silas cared for her. So sweet, this passage. This is, I've said it before, this is my favorite passage ever. But, so it looks like that's our answer. Let's just check out 41 to 43, see why it's not correct. 41 to 43, here we are. Then she would turn her ear to some sudden bird note, and Silas learned to please her by making signs of hushed stillness. So if you chose this, you probably chose better understands his place in nature. But it's just talking about their interaction in nature. Doesn't mean he better understands his place in nature per se. So not that. And then we look at 61 to 63. Oh, down here. And what we've got is shapes and sounds grew clearer for Epi's eyes and ears, and there were more that Dada was imperatively required to notice and account for. So it sounds like Silas is more accountable. So that would be a valid line reference if there was something that matched it, but there is nothing. So keep in mind, if more than one answer seems to work for this number 6 type question, remember the correct answer's got to have a match. It doesn't have a match, so therefore cannot be the correct answer. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, click like. You can share it with someone who has difficulty with these paired questions. If there's any question you'd like to see answered from any official PSAT or SAT or ACT, leave that in the comments. I'd be happy to shoot a video on it. And click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Have a great day.